I want to talk about what's happening with MAGA. I mentioned that MAGA is, they're very disheartened, many of them, the influencers and the politicians, with Donald Trump in this administration, especially after Pete Hegseth announced last week that they were going to allow a new Qatari air base here in America. This is a headline from Laura Loomer. She tweeted out, "This is an abomination." She also said that that we're going to be a Muslim country for allowing this to happen. And then she says, "I'm not voting in 2026." And then Nick Fuentes is slamming Donald Trump over his celebration of Israel, the Israel celebration. He is saying Trump's celebratory speech in Israel is disgusting. He's praising Miriam Adelson for being Israel first, calls for Netanyahu to be pardoned, and within minutes of the war ending, they began to whitewash what happened in Gaza and get everyone to move on. We will never forget. And then you have this from Candace Owens.
And Trump wants a Nobel Peace Prize, by the way, for the planned ethnic cleansing so that they could profit on the land and turn it into a beach town. So let me say this. This is our never again, okay? This is a Holocaust. A Holocaust just happened. A real Holocaust just happened. We will never forget this. You need to tell your children what happened in Gaza. You need to tell them exactly who did it, exactly whose families were involved in this. And when you hear in the future somebody tell you, like, we're going to Gaza Beach for a vacation, you need to look at them like they are the absolute vermin of our society, because they are. They are. Their children will be cursed, okay? If you go and you play in the sand where you know that your forefathers planned to mass murder children, you will be cursed. Every person who steps foot on that, every family that is set to inherit what they did, they will be cursed. Your children's children will be cursed. Gaza belongs to nobody but the Palestinians. So when you begin to move the Israelis in there, and when the Trump hotel gets built on there, I caution the rest of the world to stay far away from that cursed land, because something is coming. You can't commit that much evil in broad daylight and not think it's going to come back to haunt you.
Wow. I mean, when you've lost Candace Owens, doctor.
It is a mind-blowing moment. And, I got no love lost for Nick Fuentes or Laura Loomer, who tweets about me every week now, or Candace Owens.
Right on.
And I
agree
disagree with the Islamophobia and the anti-Semitism that too often gets spewed. But it is a moment right now where you watch this administration move, and they're doing the things that anybody who would have tried to extrapolate from the last month of his first term into the future, you would have predicted. And you start to realize that folks have been duped. And I spend most of my days up and down the state of Michigan. And I'm talking to folks, 20%, 30% of every room that I walk into voted for Donald Trump. And they're saying the same things in different language. I didn't think he was serious about that stuff. I thought he was finally going to help me out. And there are two overwhelming realizations that always hit me right in the chest that I really want to share with your viewers. The first one is, we've got an opportunity for those of us who want to see this country head forward in a direction of peace, prosperity, and honest leadership. We've got an opportunity to come together to build something that's greater than the sum of its parts, if we are willing to go back to the ideals of a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. But then the second overwhelming realization that I often have is, what went wrong in the Democratic Party that we couldn't beat that? And it's so frustrating to me, because I ran once before in 2018. I said this thing that people weren't quite ready to hear, which is that Donald Trump himself is not the disease of our politics. He's just the worst symptom of the disease of our politics. And when you deal with the symptom, but you don't deal with the disease, the symptom comes back worse. And that disease is the way that corporations, oligarchs have been able to corrupt our system to buy and sell politicians to do their bidding. So when you talk to everyday folks out in the sticks in Michigan, right, communities where, right, there aren't that many people and they have traditionally voted for Donald Trump, when you have that conversation and you start talking about democracy and protecting democracy, they'll look back at you and say, democracy hasn't been delivering for me for years. It hasn't actually been helping to make sure I can stay in my home, or the job I've worked every last year is going to be there for me next year, or made sure that my kid goes to a quality school where they can get jobs for tomorrow. And if we can't make democracy actually deliver on the basic foundations of a dignified life, in a lot of ways, people have foregone that the democracy was broken a long time ago, and this is just the final set of nails in the coffin. So I think we have a unique opportunity right now to come together in communities across places like Michigan and in other states to come back to the ideals of a politics that actually will deliver on those basic things, taking money out of politics, putting money back in people's pockets, passing basic guaranteed healthcare, Medicare for all, that can bring everyone together beyond the culture war that has platformed the Nick Fuenteses and the Laura Loomers and the Candace Owens of the world, to bring folks back who've been systematically lied to. Because if they're lying to the culture warriors, they've been lying to the everyday voters for decades. And the question is, who's going to be the one who tells them the truth? And I think we got that opportunity.
I don't know if you saw Mehdi Hassan's, I don't know if it was a tweet or whatever you want to call it. He put it up yesterday. This is what Mehdi said. Let me get my glasses here. He said, the hostage release today and the credit Trump is getting is a reminder of just how bad the Democrats are at politics. Not only did Biden refuse to force his deal on Netanyahu and thereby help Harris defeat Trump, but most people aren't even aware that Biden got way more Israeli hostages, over 100 released from captivity, with his November 23rd ceasefire than Trump did with his. But that ceasefire has been memory hold, including by many Dems. The Dems are often their own worst enemies. Now, there were a lot of folks who on this, in the comment section who disagree with Mehdi, saying, also blaming the media. This one person says, history will be way more kind to Biden and his accomplishments. I don't think it will be so kind to the biased media. So what do you make of this whole thing and what Mehdi said? Is his messaging? Do you agree with him?
I try not to waste my time debating the legacies of old men. I'm a lot more interested in where we go from here.
Good.
I am deeply saddened that we could not have gotten here earlier. And I think everybody involved with allowing a genocide to perpetuate for 2 years has blood on their hands. And to me, that means Donald Trump, that means Joe Biden. This should never have been here. And it certainly means Netanyahu and all of his enablers inside of Israeli politics. And it means, frankly, everyone in Congress who greenlit all of this money that we sent abroad to do what was done. The question to me right now, the question that matters for a child in Gaza or a child in Detroit is, are we willing to take what has happened here, look at it in its totality, not just 2 years of genocide, but decades of brutal occupation and siege before that. Thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people dead, homes decimated, schools destroyed, hospitals broken. Are we willing to look at that in its totality and say, we need to foundationally turn the page? Because I hate to say it, it was our tax dollars that subsidized this. $22 billion of our tax dollars. And guess what? They're about to certify to send more. And my question right now is, when do we call it an end, right? Because as we talked about, Donald Trump is trying to get his flowers on bringing this to the slimmest margin of a peace. But to me, peace is structural, built on justice and accountability, and a pathway forward for the highest needs of peoples, regardless of who they are. How do we build for that? Like, that's what I want to focus on. And right now, I hate to say it, the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, our politics generally have been dominated around this. Politics dominated because there is a lot of MAGA billionaire money spent to dictate outcomes of elections, right? Through huge amounts of attack ads spent in congressional and senatorial and gubernatorial elections across the country. And maybe that's a good place to start, right? So, I've been clear, I would never seek AIPAC's endorsement or their money. I don't take any corporate money. because I think that's part of the problem. So are we willing to actually have a structural analysis of what led us here and how we stop doing this in the future rather than debating the legacies of two old men?
Thanks everyone for watching. Your support means the world to us. So make sure you hit the like button and you subscribe to our channel to make sure that you never ever miss a video. We're live every day, 10 a.m. Eastern time. We drop even more content at 2 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Eastern. And if you want more Don Lemon Show content, we'd love for you to become a member of the Lemon community, where you will receive access to special community posts. You'll get exclusive content and members-only live shows. So head over to our channel page or click the join button on this video. Again, thank you for watching. We appreciate your love and your support, and we will see you next time.